Curt Isakson with the brass tacks and hard facts of the 1 3/4 smoothbore nozzle 7/8 versus the 15/16. Here we're comparing the 7/8 smoothbore tip on an 1 3/4 nozzle and the 15/16 tip. Both good tips to provide and exceed the flow for today's interior fire attack standard. At a 7/8 tip, we can pump it at 40, 50, and 60 at the nozzle. At 40 PSI nozzle pressure, we're getting 145 GPM at 50 pounds nozzle reaction. At 50 PSI nozzle, we're getting 160 at 60 pounds nozzle reaction. At 60 at the nozzle, we're getting 175 GPM at 70 pounds nozzle reaction. So you can see at 40 PSI, 50 and 60, we're right at around 150 or a little over to achieve today's standard for proper flow in the interior of a structural fire attack while still having decent nozzle reaction that's manageable. With a 15/16, it too exceeds the minimum flow for today's fire attack. At 40 pounds tip pressure, we're getting 165 GPM at 55 pounds nozzle reaction. When we go to the national standard of 50 PSI, we're getting 185 at 69 pounds nozzle reaction. But when we bump it up to 60, we're getting 200 GPM, but we're up at 83 pounds nozzle reaction. A good flow, but hard to manage on the nozzle reaction side for your typical first due interior attack. Now, the one thing on the 15/16 that we need to understand, if we pump it at 40, we need to make sure that we're properly staffing that line and we're managing for kinks. Based on the size of the tip and the standard 1 3/4 hose, it can be prevalent for kinking when under pumping at the 40. The one thing about the 7/8 is when you pump it at 40, the kinks are not as prevalent, but your flow is going to be lower. So you can see both good tips. One's going to be able to flow more water, but a higher nozzle reaction. This one flows a little less water, less nozzle reaction, going to be less kinking. So the 7/8 versus the 15/16, both successful nozzles used in today's fire service, but you just need to understand the brass tacks and the hard facts of what they are for your department, and you make the decision.